to my van. Yeah. I got tired of listening to Reliant K albums and lifting boxes, so I decided to go a little bit early to pick up my boys from school and take a little break from moving to hang out with you guys and talk about what's going on with IHOP Kansas City. We've been talking about it for a little bit now on the channel, and it just every time these guys like give an update or they have a video, it just gets worse, you know? If you're here, let me know by hopping in the chat, hitting the like button. Lets other people know that I'm live. I didn't plan this until about like 15-20 minutes ago, so great planning on my part. But let's talk a little bit about everything going on with IHOP Kansas City. They just had the general. Oh man, the general. They had General Fuller, their main guy, put out a statement yesterday. I think this was at IHOP Kansas City from like, one of their services, and all of a sudden they decided to put this online under the caption of enough. That's what they put on the thumbnail. I didn't, I probably would have put something different in my thumbnail, but they decided they wanted to put enough. And that, given the idea that General Fuller, this leader of renown, is, finished with it. He's just done with it. And it's just enough for him. And so he talked for a little bit. And if I had my stuff still set up, if I had my studio running, which I don't, it's all taken down now, I'd probably do like a play-by-play like I've been doing, like I usually do. But, we're just in the van today. So I'll just let you know a few things that he said. Basically, he got up and started talking about this advocate group, which is how they keep on referring to Boz Chikvejian. I probably butchered his name, so sorry, dude, if you're watching this. Like, I really appreciate all the work that you do, but I don't know how to say your name. But he basically went at them, and because all these people who are coming out and telling them about their stories, they're going with Boz and trying to figure out probably a way to best find justice for what's been going on with them. And at the same time, IHOP Kansas City is doing their own third-party investigation of people that they hired. Sorry for the colors on my fingers. It's moving and getting all the markers off the wall. I don't know why, but my 2-year-old, totally off topic, but my 2-year-old decided all of a sudden he would start drawing on the walls as we're moving out of our place. Like it's a rental and we just bought a house. And for some reason, he's like, now's the right time. I've been waiting, but now's the right time. We're just going to take markers to all the walls. So that's been part of the whole cleanup. Anyways, so he's going at like the advocate group, and essentially it's IHOP Kansas City versus this advocate group. And, or at least it doesn't have to be that way. And they've definitely made, strides. Both sides have tried to make strides to appease the other. But the sticking point has been that we're going to follow through with this third-party investigation by, and again, I'll do that, third-party investigation by this law firm that usually defends corporations. Like, this isn't what they're known for. They're just going to use this law firm that they paid, that the advocate group had no hand in picking or, vetting in any way. And they're just saying, we're going to stick with this group and we're going to use their investigation. This is the investigation. And obviously the advocate group is like, no, like, we don't know these people. You're paying them. That's weird. Yes, you should be shouldering the financial burden, but they should have had a hand in picking out what group. And the fact that it's a law firm that defends corporations is like, this is not the right company to be working with as far as this goes. So they've said no, and that's been the sticking point between these two. Well, in some negotiations that they've been having, I guess, like, this is all coming from IHOP Kansas City. We don't really know too much about Boz and his side. about how they've been negotiating and what they've been wanting to accomplish. But IHOP Kansas City has been saying like, hey, we are, trying to make sure that you guys feel comfortable. And like last week, we talked about Eric Vols, who I'm assuming is the kind of guy that watches this kind of stuff. So hi, Eric, if you're watching this. But he got up and he was basically saying like, well, it is a third party investigation, but we have to make it look like a third party investigation to pacify essentially the advocate group, which that's not what third party means. Is when you're like paying and you picked them all out and they just have to submit to it and give them all their crucial information and have no access to like what that report is going to be and if it's going to be edited and all that kind of stuff. They have no hand in it, but the whole thing is like seeming that it's a third party investigation. So I guess they've been having conversations and General Fuller has just had enough. So he's saying that this advocate group has been taking advantage of him and his good graces because he's told them like, I want to get to the bottom of it. Tell me your information. And apparently there was information. I haven't seen the videos, but Fuller, he talked about, I'm so sorry. General Fuller. I feel like we have to. Is that a thing? It's not a thing, is it? It's like a sitting, or ex-president. You have to call him president for the rest of their lives. Is that how it goes? Is it like Reverend? I don't know. I've never called anyone Reverend in my life, even though technically I've been one. But General Fuller, he's basically just saying like, these people lied to his face. And so he's just done with it. And that's probably not accurate. I'm assuming that's probably not accurate. But also, I think what's really going on is that there is an ultimatum that's been given, essentially that you are going to pacify us, IHOP Kansas City, and you're going to give into our demands. And if you don't, we're going to just continue what we've been doing, which is throwing you under the bus, like going onto these stages and public platforms and saying that they're the ones who are holding things back. We could find out. And there are just some really interesting things I saw in they put out like this 5-minute video. Again, this isn't like someone going up with a camera and being like, oh, look, he's saying something. This is them using like their public like live stream and like putting this out because they want this message out. So like someone thought this was a good idea. Is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't just like, oh, I didn't know they were recording. It's like someone took this, they thought it was great, and they wanted to push this message out, which I'm assuming is that Eric Vols guy, which obviously I have thoughts about how he's been doing his marketing. And this is just another one of those. Because General Fuller basically said that he alone, something to the quote, like it's on my Twitter. You can find that if you don't want to watch the video. But he alone has the authority and responsibility to properly adjudicate this thing. Like, that's such a weird thing for anyone to say. And one, that's probably not true. Like this guy, I don't know, like, again, he's a general, so I don't know how the army works. I've never been in the army. But like, I'm assuming in the army, you have a lot of authority. But he's the chairman of this IHOP Kansas City group, which I'm assuming he's still accountable to the rest of the committee. So I don't know if that's accurate, but the fact that he thinks that is dangerous. And probably speaks to like the whole thing, right? Like, who would want to work with someone that thinks that they alone are the person who should get answers? Like, if you're one of these victims, these survivors, like, why would you trust this guy who's like, no, just give me the information. Not the other committee members, they don't matter. Eric Vols, he doesn't matter. Just let me know. Let me know what it is. And he seemed like personally offended that these survivors refused to give him the information that he was asking for so that they could properly investigate Mike Bickle. Well, there's stuff coming out frickin' every day from Julie Roys that, like, Mike Bickle is guilty as all get out of all different kinds of things, like covering up his son's affair with a staff member. Like, that's something that she just put out today. I don't think that's coming from the advocate group. So, like, these are things that are well known. So, like, I think you can probably come to a conclusion about the organization, at least, with Mike Bickle without doing all that stuff. But he's saying it's crucial, and he seems personally offended that these people aren't going to give him the answers when he's going around saying statements like that I alone am the one who can adjudicate this. In other words, I'm the judge, and you got to give me the information so I could judge properly. And if I don't have all the information, if you refuse to continue to give me the information, then I'm just going to move on. That's essentially what he said from a stage. And all right, it would be one thing if we're talking about like months and months and months that this guy's been in charge and he's been trying, and let's give him all the benefit of doubt and say, like, he's been trying so hard to find out the truth of all these things. And it's been like 8 months that he's been doing this. You might be like, okay, you could be frustrated. You're trying to do this and, red tape and all that stuff. Maybe you're not used to it. But it's been 3 weeks, right? Like, that's what Eric Valls got up and said just the other day. It's like, oh, be patient with us. We're just starting this, essentially. And here comes General Fuller. Like, the next public statement is, we're done waiting for you. Like, you won't give me the information. And then he's accusing them of being liars. He said that they lied to his face. And then, like, later he's like, and people are saying that I'm calling survivors liars. It's like, you literally just did. like go back, watch the first minute. You just did it. And he's like, I would never. I think he literally said, I would never accuse a victim of being a liar. And it's just like, you just did like a minute and a half ago. So it's all kinds of weird. And every time these guys get up, whether it's Fuller or whether it's Valls or whoever from IHOP Kansas City, they just look guiltier and guiltier. And then you hear all this stuff that was going on, like, again, Mike Bickle covering up for his son's affair with a staff member, which you go like, I don't know, man. Like, people in higher positions of authority having affairs at work, at least in the secular world, isn't being looked at the same way. I think that maybe the church should probably start rethinking whether these things are actual affairs. But like, it just keeps on coming out as like awful and awful. And getting up and having like that kind of like entitlement. That's the only word that comes to mind. I know this guy is like a boomer kind of type, like that, oh, it's the young people who are entitled, but he seems pretty entitled to get up there and just be like, give me all your stuff and I alone will do the right thing and you just have to trust me for it. Like, that's not how you deal with these situations. Like, especially when you're talking about a lack of accountability for your like top leadership. And then you're like, okay, but now we have good leadership. So we can still roll with lack accountability. Like, no, accountability works, man. Like, this is where all like these mega church pastors and even solo pastors in small churches, like, things can go really, really wrong without accountability, without somebody having another hand on the wheel to make sure things are going properly, or at least a way to check like that main leader and let them know, like, hey, I don't know if this was right. I don't know if this was the proper way to handle this situation. That's why for me as a Baptist, I'm a Congregationalist. I think that churches should be elder-led, like they should have leaders who can make decisions, but the church should be able to check them, just like be like, I don't know about this. So that you don't have people like General Fuller getting up and saying, hey, I'm the only one who can adjudicate this properly. That's just nuts to me. But anyways, this is what I think about it. Let's see what you guys have to say. I really like doing this thing where we're just in the car. And I've got about 20 minutes until the kids get out. So let's see. We've got Vardenstein is here. I'm probably butchering his name too. I apologize. I'll try not to do my mom thing and just, I'm going to read this. Caveat is here. Hey, hey. Wendy's here. Hey, dogs. Hey, is tomorrow moving day? Heidi says, yes, it is. And we are stressed. Like, man, I've been doing so much stuff today. Thankfully, I don't have my youngest with me. Heather's working today. And so usually I got little guy with me. But grandparents, man, grandparents, when you're busy and need to get some stuff done, grandparents are great. And they're great for other reasons too. But also, hi. Yeah, we're pretty excited for tomorrow. We don't know what time. We get the keys sometime tomorrow morning. And then Saturday is like the big moving day. And then probably we'll have like ripple effects of moving day. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys who've moved, like once you got like a lot of stuff, it's just like we'll probably be moving for a couple of days. Like one big day of moving and then, like some aftershocks. It's an earthquake with some aftershocks, essentially. Johnny Appleseed is here. Aaron's here. Wendy's here. Aaron says, is it like the Salvation Army where they have ranks? No, I don't know. I guess this guy was like an actual general. He talked about like being like dealing with foreign dignitaries at the highest level and all that kind of stuff, which I always go like, it's a job. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is just like really like rude, but like all these military or police officers or people like firefighters is that like everyone wants to always be like, oh, they're rank and like, ooh, and like, oh, they've been in the force for so many years or in the service. It's different if you're like in active combat. That's a very different thing. But if you're like, a pencil pusher at a desk and you're just like, oh, all this stuff, it's just like, yeah, I mean, like everyone has to do their jobs. Everyone, advances in their jobs. It's like you saying you deal with like the highest of dignitaries. It's like, well, all right, well, you're GM of a convenience store, like I don't know. It's always the same thing to me. Everyone's trying to do their best. I don't really get impressed with that kind of stuff. Not at least anymore. Let's see. Caveat says, yes, that's how it goes. Ex-military speaking. All right. Wendy says, kind of weary of all the ever-evolving scandals. Yeah. They just like keep on coming. And I think what's going on is like now we're getting to this age where like the people that think they get it are like putting out their statements and videos. And I think IHOP Kansas City thinks that they get it. Like they think that they understand how to properly deal with abuse and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, all right, you might be able to figure out how another institution should do it. But once it's like in your institution, like you got all kinds of personality stuff, like you're loyal to that person, you don't want to speak ill of that person, and all this stuff gets in the way. And all of a sudden, people who think that they knew how to handle this stuff or have been watching and paying attention to these other scandals and think we can do it better, all of a sudden they're not because they're so loyal to their institution, loyal to their leaders. And I think that's a big part of what's going on with IHOP Kansas City. So hopefully in time, as we talk about these things more, and as, it becomes much easier to get your story out there, I think that eventually you'll start seeing more of these bigger institutions actually doing it right rather than, putting out statements like Fuller did. Star says, hello, dogs, done with pickup duty. Awesome. Dean, did you see the video released yesterday by the advocate group about Bickle's son? This just keeps going and going. I saw Julie Roy's writing about it. I didn't watch any video. I've been pretty busy. So many boxes. Praying your move. Appreciate it, Wendy. Mrs. Creole, car stream. Hey, y'all. Yes, we are in the car. Look, it's my kid's dirty car seat. Kip, hey, well, how's it going? Wendy says, I too am in my car, by the way. Military, ministry, medicine tend to attract or encourage narcissism. All Orcent company excluded. All recent company or present company. That's probably what it is. Don't growl at me. I am having a hard day. Well, I'm sorry you're having a hard day. Yeah, life could be hard sometimes. Praying for you, Wendy. Yeah, I think a lot of people just think like, I don't know, if you could have a gun, then you should have respect, or if you have a uniform, you should have respect. And it's like, no, like I don't respect, some like again, this sounds really mean, but like going off and fighting in a war is very different. Like being on the front lines, that's very different. That's brave. That's courageous. But when we're talking about people who may have done that in the past, but they're like they're just, working their military job or a police work or a firefighter or, fill in the blank of all these things that for some reason our communities just kind of lift up and say like, oh, we need to always respect these people. It's like they're doing their job just like anyone else is doing their job. Like I'm not going to respect those people any more than I'm going to respect the teachers who are teaching my kids right now. Like it's everyone does their job. And as long as we're not talking about like the frontline stuff, then people will probably not like me for saying that. But I don't know. You guys got anything? I got all my thoughts out there. I just wanted to kind of shoot that out rather than wait and hope that maybe on Monday I could get things. It's not going to be Monday. It'll be a couple more days, but I didn't want to wait on it of getting my thoughts out there because it's weird. It's weird what's going on with those people. And I expect that you're going to see some big action from them. Because, again, for me, it's an ultimatum. Like, basically, either you get on board with our investigation or you're cut off forever and we're just not going to work with you at all. Which I don't think the advocate group at this point is probably going to work with them anyways because of everything that they've done and tried. So I think it's like a veiled thing of just kind of trying to get ahead of it and look like they're doing the right thing. And I think that probably like this general guy, he probably got his feelings hurt because he's like, why won't they trust me? Why won't they? It's because you're part of an institution that has been covering up stuff. Like it's probably not anything personal, but Heidi says, Dean, I always struggle. I want to share your stuff with my friends, but also I don't want to because I'm like the underdogs are the safe place. I ain't sharing that with just anyone. You know what? Don't. If that's the way you feel, just don't. Because I get it. I totally get it. Probably like the first year and a half that I was doing this YouTube channel, I didn't share it on my Twitter. Like I didn't share it with anybody. Like I just let it grow, like from just YouTube, because I didn't want anyone. Like it wasn't like shame of like people knew that I was like making videos, but I wouldn't share it with anyone because it's just like I don't know. People can be weird. Like I get really defensive of this community and being like, I don't like, there are people who have talked to me and be like, I'd love to come on your show. And like, they're kind of big shots and like, it probably would help like the channel, but it's also like, I don't want to invite their whole audience over. Like I'm like defensive of this community and yeah, so if you want the underdogs to just be yours, then just have it be yours. You don't need to share it unless you really want to. If you want to get your like, I don't know what kind of exact background. I know you have a similar background to me, but I don't know if you want to antagonize people. Like if you want to like stir the pot a little bit. If you do, then sure, share. But if you don't, I totally understand why you don't want to. And it's probably, I don't know, it's probably more helpful on Twitter anyways. Like, I find people who get their links from Facebook, they're usually far more conservative, and they're just gonna be mad at me for anything I say. So, not worth it. But that's not to say you shouldn't share it on your Facebook if you want to. I'm just saying, you know, maybe other social media. Instagram? Okay. David is here. It says, arrived, alive, few, better late than never. Well, I'm glad you're here. Caveat says, how to and when to share is hard to figure out how to best implement. Okay. Primordial synapse. I've always pictured Mark Driscoll as secretly being a hardcore World of Warcraft player. Thoughts? I bet you that guy's like a real nerd. Yeah. Like, here's the deal. Every pastor is a nerd. Like, these pastors that get up and they're like ripped and they're talking about football and like, it's like, guy, you were reading Coin Greek like this week. You were reading a language from 2,000 years ago. You're a big old nerd. Like, so don't even. And then usually you find out, oh, they love Marvel movies, or oh, they love, Star Trek or Star Wars, or, whatever. And it's just like, or, if you got a super nerd, they're just like, Doctor Who, it's like, they're nerds. They're nerds. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Driscoll was into like World of Warcraft, although he's so like anti-demons and everything is a demon that I don't know, maybe not with that. I would imagine he's like really nerdy about other things that he doesn't talk about on stage because of like the whole perception stuff and trying to like look like a cool guy, and now he's all about like being a jock all of a sudden. So maybe not World of Warcraft, but it's something, probably. Heidi says, your videos on DW are fire and my people need to hear them, but then I want them to go away. Well, if they are like listening to Doug Wilson, most likely they're not going to like me. So there's that. Like, most likely they're going to be like, dislike. So maybe they won't like it. Wendy says, I hear you, Heidi. The pack is a safe place for me. I'm so frickin' weary of battling everywhere, it seems. I'm still living in the motel, ready for my mansion in heaven, world weary. Man, you've been having a rough go. I'm praying for you, Wendy. But yes, let this be a safe place here in the van. It's a safe van. It is. Kias are pretty safe. There's been a pot stirring mood lately. Oh. Well, if you want to stir it, then stir it. That's kind of my whole thing. It's like, I got started because I just got sick of, at first it was pastors and plagiarism. And I got so tired of all these pastors I know being like, I get my text outline from this book from 40 years ago, but then I fill the rest in on my own. It's like, what? So when, former SBC president guy, Ed Litton, when he got caught for plagiarism, that kind of like lit a fire, and then I just got annoyed at Mark Driscoll, and so the rest is kind of history. It's a history no one cares about. Caveat says, and don't want to be that annoying specialty processed American meat. I'm not, what? I don't know. A raging power player who ruins everybody's fun in World of Warcraft. You guys remember that Community episode? Like, they took it down because Ken Jeong was wearing like black paint on his face, even though he was supposed to be an elf, and like a dark elf, and they like don't let that up anymore. But that episode was so good and dealt with like some pretty hardcore issues too. Love that episode. Any thought on the controversy over Alistar Begg's statement on attending a gay wedding? I did talk about that in like the first like 15 minutes of the stream that I did the other day. So I'd go and check that out. My thoughts are, I disagree. Like, I thought about it. It's like, yeah, I disagree with Begg on it, but also just like these guys that are going at him, they're just going at him because they want a seat at the table. Like they don't like Alistair Begg, his theology is the exact same as mine on most of it. Most of that stuff specifically, and then you add on that he's like really complementarian, like he fits right into their camp and everything, but they're acting like he's like this crazy liberal because of him saying, hey, maybe you should go, grandma, and all these nuances that he gave. Like he added a lot of stipulations to that, but they don't want to talk about that. So I don't get all the hate for him, even though I disagree with him. It's just like whatever. I share you on Twitter partially to remind my Twitter community that I'm actually pretty conservative. It's funny, you conservative to my Twitter and liberal to my Facebook. Story of my life, man. I'm always too conservative for one group and too liberal for another. Like yeah, I'm on the outside looking in on both of those things, so it makes sense to me. Uh, Amen. Aaron says, Wendy, caveat, Doctor Who? What's up, Stephen? We all have a duty to call all these false preachers and prophets out. They are leading good people to the fires of hell. Yeah. I think the people that I talk about, I wouldn't. I don't know. There are some that are just like in it for money, like Mark Driscoll, that I'm like, that's more than just like he's wrong about something or didn't deal with a specific issue well, or has a bad philosophy of counseling or something like that. Like that's a lot of what I talk about. But yeah, like there are some false preachers that I talk about too. But most of the guys that I talk about are people that I would still consider to be Christians. They just like kind of suck. So that's probably that's not the best way to put it, but it's accurate. He maybe likes God of War. There he can play a raging macho man who slaughters false gods. Oh, that's like right up his alley. I bet that's the world he escapes in for sure. And then comes out with 1,000 different sermon illustrations. And like his wife is probably just like, you can't use any of those. That's also why I advocate that God of War is a Christian game. Fight me over it. I won't. I don't. I've never played. I'm not a gamer. I don't game. I found you because of a Facebook recommendation. Not all Gen Xers are goofballs. Hey, that's cool. I asked that question to you back in the day. Which one? I laughed when you mocked Driscoll with a southern accent when he said he didn't like demons. I'm in the Bible Belt. Where there's a devil under every bush. Yeah. I can't help it. There are voices that are just like ingrained into my brain to just like immediately do if I'm making fun of something. And that's one of them. Mark Hosh says people have been warning about Bickle and IHOP for years with their charismania. Yeah. I think we need to be a little bit careful. There are lots of people who are immediately wanting to tie the things going on with IHOP Kansas City and Mike Bickle specifically to his theology and then apply it to like everyone who agrees with his theology. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's fair. And also, like, as a Baptist, with everything going on with the Southern Baptist Convention, please don't do that to me. Like, I mean, theologically, I'm right there as far as like Southern Baptists. So, like, are you going to say everything that is going on with the Southern Baptist Convention is because of their theology? Because if that's true, then it's true of me, right? Like that's true of every Baptist then, or at least that they're more likely to do it. And that's just not fair. So I'd caution us not to. Now there are some things like Mike Bickle being like this prophet and like this leader, and like there's an aspect of just like, oh well, he's holier. You might not even you would never say that, but just even calling him that, you're separating him and like making like this classification of like, well, oh, he's better because he's a prophet. And then also the authority that comes with that. That's where things get problematic. But as far as like the morality, it has nothing to do with his like theology when it comes to the gifts specifically. You said charismatic, so The question about attending. Oh yeah, I did answer that in the stream. Curious if you've read Gospel Coalition's article about gentle parenting or have any thoughts about it. I have not. I saw people talking about it on Twitter. Thought about clicking on the article, but then I got busy with other stuff. So I haven't read very much. I haven't watched very much. I've just been looking at boxes, picking up boxes, moving boxes. Guys, I wish I could show you a picture right now of everything that I found underneath my middle son's dresser. Okay, like I thought that room was clean. Like, I don't know how, but it was a full, huge trash bag's worth of stuff that was, I don't know, like tucked up into like the dresser. So I've just been cleaning. I've been packing, taking down things, trying to fix things because we got to fix a few things. But yeah, it's just a lot of that kind of stuff. So I haven't really been finding out too much. I just been watching a few stories, mostly for the channel to see, like, what is IHOP Kansas City going to continue to do. But anything new, no, I haven't really been paying attention. Mark says, but now suddenly he's an issue. That's my point. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. John says, I started in 80 with IHOP, Hillbilly Spirituality, Horny Hillbilly Prophets. Gentle as in not hitting. Oh, wow. I'm probably going to be okay with the article then. Yeah, I'm not going to judge parents based off of like how they discipline their children. But I'll just say there's a certain way that I discipline mine. It's very different than how I was brought up. I was brought up with a belt. And yeah, there's more to that, but no, I don't do that. So we use timeouts, we lose privileges, and I use my stern voice. And usually that works. My kids are pretty good. H is a little all over the place, but he's autistic. So like, I'm not going to hold him to the same standard as, my oldest son, where he was at that age. Like, he's just like, he needs to run. He needs to jump. He's going to be loud. Like, it's just like, it's what his body needs to do. So I'm not going to like take that from him and cause him pain. So, my kids are pretty good. Now if H's diabetes would be good, then life. Can I discipline his diabetes? He stuffed it in there as a shortcut when you told him to clean his room. 100%. But I'm impressed with how much he was able to fit. Like, my oldest, I cleaned out his room, and it's like crazy the amount of stuff that was in his room, just like there. It's such a small room, and he just had like tons of stuff everywhere. And like, for some reason, it looked good. Like, when you like walked in the room, you're like, oh, it's clean. But then, for moving things around and like getting everything together, it was like, this is not clean at all. But my middle son, it was just like, I don't know how he put it all in there. How did he fit it? It's kind of nuts. Let's see. Got probably like 30 more seconds. After all we have heard about, I was scared there for a moment. Okay. Dr. Michael Brown dip. Oh, snap. John Wayne, that's a no-no. Let's, we're going to remove that one. Don't do that here, bud. Star 123, I agree. Star 123, I think this just proves that abuse happens in all organizations. That's probably true. Ladon says the TGC article on gentle parenting is pretty terrible in my opinion. It's against it in an extreme way. Marissa Burt had a live stream on IG about it yesterday. Oh, so it's not for gentle parenting. It's against it? Hot take from TGC. What are they trying to do? Get back all like the the people who left over the virus stuff? Like, trying to be like super extreme. Also, Marissa Burt. That lady's cool. Like, at least on Twitter, I've run into her a couple times and I was just like, oh, That was really clever. So, yeah, I'll have to look and see what she said about that, and then maybe read the article. But if it was against gentle parenting, that's such a such a hot take to make in 2024. Like, I guess they want people coming to the website, right? All right, I will see you guys in the next one. We're moving forward too, even as a channel. I'll see you later.